Lesson 5. What is the meaning of volume of a solid? How can the volume of a rectangular prism be found? So we have learned volume equals length times width times height. We have found that volume can also just be the base times the height, if they've already found that for you. Volume is always found in units cubed. Okay, the little 3, or you can write out cubed. We've also found that a rectangular prism, or a solid, is really just the shape of like a tissue box, either the cube or the more traditional tissue box. Okay. Today we are going to solve some word problems using volume. These are not very difficult. All you have to do is, I would suggest, is draw your figure and label them. That'll make your word problems much easier. Okay, so if you have a box of candy that is 8 inches long, 5 inches wide, and 2 inches tall, how much space do you have for candy? Now, that question was the full, that was all they asked. I drew the picture for you, so that's what you need to get in the habit of doing. You need to make sure that you're drawing your pictures so that you can label them and have the correct information. Okay? So we know that it is 8 inches long, it is 5 inches wide, 2 inches high. When we do that, we can take our volume, which is length times width times height. So we have 8 times 5 times 2. I know 8 times 5 is 40. 40 times 2 is 80. And there we have it. We have an 80-inch cubed candy box. All right, so that's how much room we have for candy inside. All right. Let's look at another example. So you can see that it gave you all the information. You just had to know the volume formula. That's all you had to do in this problem. Okay, in the next one, this is a little bit more difficult. Okay, in this problem, we want to know how many shoe boxes will fit into the larger cardboard box. Okay, if you remember correctly, I told you on, the last Monday of March that my family and I just purchased a home, so we're going to be moving. So you see, I've got all these shoe boxes that I've got to get into my large packing box. How many shoe boxes am I going to be able to fit in there? Okay, well, let's take a look. All right, my box is 25 inches long. The length of my box is 25 inches. Well, my smaller one is, let's see here, let me get this. My smaller box is 8 inches long. How many of those can I fit inside? If I lay them out next to each other, 8 times what is going to get me close to 25? Well, 8 times 3 gives me 24, and that's as close as I can get. So that means I can fit 3 shoe boxes along the length of my big box. Okay? Now, I also have to worry about the width of my box. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Well, the width of my box, my big box, is 15. Okay, so 15 inches. The width of my shoe box is 5 inches. So if I was to lay those out in touching each other, 5 times what's going to give me 15? Well, that's 5 times 3. That means I can fit 3 shoe boxes along the width of my box. So I now have that base of my box filled, don't I? I have 3 this way, and I figured out I can fit 3 this way. So my base is already 3 times 3. But you see that I have this whole tall box. I mean, that's the biggest number there is. So this box is tall. So now I'm going to look at the height. All right? If I was to look at the height is 36 inches. Well, mine is 4 inches. Okay? How many times will my 4-inch box go into my 36-inch box? Well, 4 times what gives me 36? And that's 4 times 9. That means I can fit 9 shoe boxes high. I can stack 9 rows of my shoe boxes to fill up this whole box. Now that's a lot of shoes. Finally, we're getting somewhere. So if I go ahead and look at this, I have 9 layers. That's how tall it is. I have a length of 3 shoe boxes, and I have a width of 3 shoe boxes. When I do that, I get 3 times 3. That was the bottom here, so my base. Remember we talked about that? 3 here, 3 here. So that means my base has 9 shoe boxes in it. And then I have 9 layers high, so 9 times 9 gives me 81. I can fit 81 shoe boxes in my packing box. Now the question is, do I have that many shoes? And no, I promise you I do not have that many shoes. Now, maybe some of you do, I don't know. But I'm not that much into shoes. I just look for something comfy. Okay? So these problems are very different. This one, we just had to find length times width times height. And we just found the volume. This one, we wanted to know how many boxes could fit in there. So while we did find the volume at the end, we had to look at the length. We had to look at the width. And we had to look at the height before we combined them all to find out how many shoe boxes we could use total. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, so again, similar, but this box is not as tall. Okay, so let's find our length. Okay, so here's our length. We have this lovely 30-inch box, and we have this little tiny 10-inch box. How many times will that 10-inch box go into the bottom, that 30-inch? Well, 10 times 3 is 30, so that means we have 3 boxes long. So our length, we can fit 3 boxes. All right, now, our width. My width is 18 on my big box. On my small box, it is 6. 6 times what gives me 18? How many of those 6-inch boxes could I fit in an 18-inch space? Well, I know 6 times 3 is 18. So I can fit 3 boxes wide. So right now, I already have 3 boxes times 3 boxes, so my base is holding 9 boxes. But we have the height still. So let's take a look at the height. The height in my big box is 18. The height in my little box is 5. 5 times what is going to get me close to 18? Can we get right on 18? Well, I've got 5 times 3 is 15, but 5 times 4 is 20, which is too much. So therefore, we're going to go with the 3 times 5. Okay? That gives me 3 boxes tall. So I'm going to only have 3 rows this time. All right? So we have 3 boxes tall. Our height is 3. So our height is 3. Our width is 3. And our length is 3. I know 3 times 3 is 9. And 9 times 3 is 27. So this one's only going to fit 27 little boxes in there. Not quite as much as the last example. This one held 81, but you can see it's really, really tall. This one, while it is a little bit longer, is much shorter, and we're only going to fit 27 boxes in here. All right, let's take a look at this one. I have 5 cereal boxes in my pantry. They each measure 8 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 12 inches tall. How much is the volume of all? Take a look at that. They want to know the volume of all the